Welcome to the Chat About Children, sponsored by the Children's Foundation of Mississippi. My name is Linda Southward, and I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Foundation of Mississippi. We believe that for Mississippi to reach its potential, we must make sure that our children reach their potential. We're delighted today to have Tonya Ware, Director of ReadyNation, Mississippi, as our guest. Tonya Ware is a native of Key West, Florida. She was born to parents who traveled throughout the United States, pioneering and planting churches. She began a singing career at age 6, and when she was older, she accompanied her father to local jails providing ministry. After she graduated from high school with honors, she enrolled and graduated from Mississippi State University, where she joined a noted campus choir and traveled extensively, singing in churches, special events, and corporate functions. For more than 12 years, Tonya focused her attention on her secular career as benefits and retirement manager of a Fortune 500 company. She does many things in the community and through her church. And currently, and what we're really here to talk about today, is that she leads the Mississippi Early Childhood Investment Council of ReadyNation. She's also proud, as we said earlier, to be the spouse of Bishop Adrian Ware and mother to 2 daughters, Wisdom and Wealth Ware. So welcome, Tonya. We are just so pleased to have you with so much of your background and from music and from ministry. And now we are looking at your work here with young children with the Council on ReadyNation. Tell us about your role with ReadyNation and how did this movement really get started?
First of all, thank you for having me, and I'm so happy to be here.
Sure.
And when you contacted me about chatting about children, I was like, that sounds just like what I would love to do. But I was actually running and overseeing the Leadership Greater Jackson program a few years back. I love leadership, and I understand that if we really want to see Mississippi progress and things improve, that you need great leaders. And so I was serving in that capacity. Then COVID happened, and I came home to do virtual learning with at the time, she was in 4th grade, and she's a student at Jackson Academy. So Wealth was going to be studying at home, and my resume was kind of floating out there, and I received this call from ReadyNation, Mississippi, to run their program for this state. The work the ReadyNation Mississippi does is really centered around our Early Childhood Investment Council. It's a council of top-tier senior business executives that really believe that in order for Mississippi to have a strong workforce, we must invest in early learning programs. And the work has actually been going on for many, many years. It's funded by Kellogg Foundation. And so they've been in the state of Mississippi 40, 50 years working around the overall betterment of children in our state. And but I'm super excited to be able to be a part of this movement that I feel really has been happening for many, many years. If you listen to the stories, the conversations, the councils that are meeting across the state as it relates to improving the life of children, this is something that's been happening for many, many years. I've been involved since 2020, but I feel really delighted that I get a chance to work with so many advocates for children that have been at this work for, decades. And so the movement started many years ago because I believe that we all see that children are our greatest treasure, and to be able to see them thrive and grow and have a wholesome type of life, they need support. And I think I've shared this story with you before. I was coming home from school one day after being tested and was told that I was dyslexic, and I was so sad and so depressed. And my mother said to me, "Tonya, God made your brain. And if you work hard, you can do anything you want to in this world, and I'm going to support you." And those words really ring in my ears all the time. I was fortunate because she was in the early childhood development arena for 40 years before she passed. She gave me this really good, strong foundation. And so when I went to school and received that diagnosis, I already had a good foundation. And then I was able to connect with other supports and wraparound services that really helped me thrive and grow and develop in life. And I just think that there's something so great happening and about to happen in the state of Mississippi. I think that there are finally conversations going on in the state of Mississippi with the decision makers that will bring about those sustainable changes that we've all been looking for. So I'm excited about it. And this work that we're doing, I think we always knew it was important, but I think the pandemic showed us that it's critical. This is critical work. I see early childhood education advocates kind of like specialized surgeons, right? They call us in when the situation is dire, and you need those expert eyes and those expert hands. And so I'm really excited that ReadyNation, from the business standpoint, can be a part of that elite team. I call us the childcare or the early childhood education SEAL team. We're the boots on the ground. We see the challenges. We understand what families are dealing with. We know how much kids need our support, and we're here to make sure that those things that they need, that they receive them. And I'm excited to be a part of that.
Well, thank you. And I know that you participated when the Children's Foundation partnered with the Phil Hardin Foundation and the Mississippi Economic Council,
Right.
addressing the importance of quality early care and education in the state. And when we think about the importance of business leaders, and that this is an economic development issue, because we're talking about the workforce of today, for the parents and caregivers of children, particularly young children. We're also talking about the workforce of tomorrow, when these children need to be in quality. And we just really want to stress quality early care and education. So when you think about your partners with this work, let's talk about that and who's involved and what are some of the outcomes or signature projects of the work that you've done.
So we have really great partners. Our first partner, as I mentioned, is the Kellogg Foundation. And I'm finding as I travel the state and travel the world that there is this deep, abiding passion, this even moral belief that a lot of people have that children really deserve the best, right? They deserve, when you said high quality, we don't want just to put them in a program or stick them in a spot. We want them to really be in a high quality program that has proven to provide the outcomes that are needed. I was on the coast recently and I was talking to one of the business council members on our council, and she was explaining to me that she has over 3,500 jobs, 3,500 jobs in her company that she hasn't been able to fill. And one of the challenges is that the people that have been applying cannot pass 8th grade math. They have to be able to pass 8th grade math. And I thought to myself, there has to be greater focus placed on making sure the programs that we provide are high quality programs. And then we need to make sure that when those children come through those programs, they can matriculate up to other high quality programs that really prepare them for that, those skills, those basic skills, not just, math, science, English, those STEM or STEAM skills, but also social emotional supports. So Kellogg Foundation is our primary partner, but also Mississippi First, which really oversees the policy piece of the work that we do. They're great with really seeing and looking at the entire landscape of the state of Mississippi. And I think that that's what's so important with the work that they do, because they're not just looking at Jackson, and they're not just looking at Madison, they're not just looking at the metro area, they're looking at, so Mississippi, and they're looking at, all the counties in the Mississippi Delta, North Mississippi, South Mississippi. They're looking at the entire landscape of our state, and they're looking for ways to develop policy policies that will really empower our kids across the state. So they're another partner. And of course, we partner with the governor's office with Holly Spivey and her team. What we normally do is we have an annual meeting, the Mississippi Early Childhood Investment Council with ReadyNation. We have one annual meeting, and it's usually in the fall of each year. In that meeting, we talk about our next steps for the next legislative year. So November 15th of this year will be our meeting, and we will have Kellogg Foundation there. We'll have Holly Spivey and her representation there. We'll have Mississippi First there, and all of our right now we have 26 companies that represent the Mississippi Early Childhood Investment Council. All of us will be there together to talk about how we, as a collective body, can make sure children in Mississippi win. So, and those partnerships are crucial. Toyota, they're on our council, and Ingalls Shipbuilding on our council, and Caesars Entertainment on our council. The spectrums of businesses are very vast and diverse, and these are leaders who are parents, who are grandparents, who are aunts, uncles, who every day are faced with in their own businesses, finding individuals that they can train or have skill or have the aptitude to do the work that needs to be done so Mississippi's economy can run. So those partnerships are really critical because just living in the South, I found that really if you want anything major to happen, you need to engage three groups, and that's politicians, business leaders, and pastors. you need those groups, and a lot of times they are one and the same. You have a lot of legislators that are also pastors or are very, very committed to their work of faith. But I am really excited that we have such great teams of individuals who are working around this problem. And of course, we partner with the Children's Foundation of Mississippi, and Mila and a few other. We know that collaboration is the key, and working in isolation is a huge distraction to success. So we collaborate because we know that's how we get power and strength.
Well, thank you for that, Tonya, and thanks for giving our listeners a little more insight into the work. What I know from the research and what I'm hearing you say and so many others who are coming to collaborate, that it's a really steep climb if we don't get these first years right and offer the best that we can to our youngest children. So when you think about this meeting coming up in the fall, and it sounds like putting together your strategic plan or maybe finalizing that for 2023, if I'm understanding that correctly,
Right.
What do you see on the horizon that's really going to help some of these points that we just mentioned?
Right. There are a couple of things that the council has already been in discussion about. One of them, of course, is the childcare crisis. We know that sometimes in triage, you have to stop the bleeding, or you have to deal with the most urgent issue first before you can develop the whole person. And so I know there's going to be talk around childcare and childcare supports. We have companies that are looking at innovative, really cutting edge ways to deal with that issue so that they can get people skilled, reskilled in the workforce, back at work, and skilling up their work and taking promotions and moving to the next level, and even getting their college degrees, and the tuition-free programs or tuition reimbursement programs. So I know there'll be some work around childcare. There'll also be more work around expanding the funding even greater so that as many 4-year-olds as possible in the state can be placed in an early learning collaborative that will provide that high quality education that they need. So I know that there's going to be talk around that. And then there's also going to be a lot of conversation and work around building bridges, right? When you talk about that high quality early childhood program that a young child can be in, that prepares them, making sure that when they matriculate up to the next level, that the services and the education and the quality of curriculum is there for them, and when they go to the next level, and when they go to the next level, I just think it all, it's all connected. It's all connected. I saw this with my own children. So my youngest daughter, she started at a pre-K program when she was maybe, I think we took her when she was 13 months, and she was just so engaged. There was just a lot of focus on language and reading and phonics and phonetic work in her program. And so we were getting ready to re-sign her up for this 3-year-old for the 3-year-old room of this particular program. And the headmaster called us in and said, "This baby's ready. She's trying to read already at 3 years old. She's ready for school." And at the time I was doing a music program in Los Angeles. And I said, "Well, I can't take my baby to big school if I'm out of town. So she has to wait." So she started big school two weeks late. But because she was so advanced with the tools that she had been given, she hit the ground running in that 3-year-old program at Jackson Academy and never looked back. Just 2 weeks ago, she was honored for academic achievement and then high academic achievement. And I would talk to her oftentimes and say, "Tell me new words today." And I would just be amazed, at just how vast her thinking is, because she was given these very important foundational supports very early on. And then, when you think about making sure that we build those bridges, that's something that I think business leaders are really wanting to focus on, because from the time that a child goes into a high quality early learning program and they graduate from high school, we just have to make sure that they are ready, really, that they feel that confidence that they're ready for the world. And so I'm excited to see what's going to happen around that. And that's going to be, those are going to be probably the key things: childcare, expanding seats in the state for high quality programs, helping to look at those childcare and early childhood education deserts, where there are places where kids don't have programs, and making sure there are programs made available. And then building bridges, making sure that we can get kids from point A to point B to point C to point D, all the way through to a successful career.
And you just laid out so beautifully the importance of having that strong foundation from a very early age, and building upon that sequentially, and building upon that developmentally appropriate to various children, to all of our children in the state. Because as we said earlier, that the Children's Foundation truly believes that for Mississippi to reach its potential, our children must reach their potential. And having this beginning strong start is certainly a way to do that. What are some things that may have surprised you as you've gone out and learned more about communities across the state and working with different entities and building bridges?
I've been really pleasantly surprised at the bipartisan work in our state. I've been so proud of just what's happening within the Mississippi legislature, what's happening within business leaders and organizations. It's really surprised me at how dialed in or engaged business leaders are, senior business leaders are, around the topic of high quality early childhood education. Like they are really passionate about making sure that they're not just their children, but just children within their communities really have the proper stepping stones to life. And, sometimes as a business owner, because I own a boutique firm, the Success House, you can be so busy just trying to make payroll, to get the hours in for the projects that you have to get done, to complete tasks, that you can lose sight of foundational truths. But one of the things that has surprised me greatly with the work that I've been doing over these past 2 years is the business leaders, they really get that it starts with a seed, right? That if you want a mighty harvest, that you have to start with a little bitty seed, and something so powerful and transformational can happen if you take a group of, it's like when I went to visit and toured the Early Learning Collaborative in Moorhead, Mississippi. They had 80 students, all 4-year-olds, brown children that were doing yoga and learning conflict resolution, and they have what are called garden towers. So each room, they're growing their own vegetables. And some of these children are just finding out about zucchini and carrots and things that we take for granted. They're learning the value of the land. They're having meditation. So while I was there, I got a chance to see them in meditation. It's just amazing. It's just amazing that business leaders are seeing that if you wait, you're going to be reacting. But if you start early, you're going to be proactive, and planting that seed, giving children an opportunity to let their little brains absorb all this great information will yield a mighty, mighty harvest for our state that we'll see for years and years and really generations to come. So that's been surprising to me, but pleasantly surprised to see so many business leaders just be so passionate about kids and their future. It's great.
Thank you for that, because I think it's also important for people across the state and with your own community to go visit the child care centers in your area and to really look for quality, and whether that's the pre-K learning collaboratives that's comprised of some Head Start slots, looking also within the school district and in child care. So
I tell people that, I said, fight for early childhood education like you fight for your fried chicken. Okay. So, you know us in the South, we do not play with our fried chicken and our sweet tea. Come Sunday morning, and, we're thinking about it before we go to church. We're going to have our fried chicken and our sweet tea after service. And it's a thing that we love. It's built and rooted in our culture. It's a part of who we are as people and a family. And I just tell people all the time, fight for children, fight for early childhood education, like you fight for everything else that you love in your life, because it's so critical. It's so crucial. It's so vital. It's so important. It's so needed. It's a must. Every child should have a right to succeed. They just should have, with the breath that comes from their lungs, the moment that their little eyes open and they're born into this world, they should have the right to succeed. And when we come together as early childhood education advocates, as business leaders, as lawmakers, as policy analysts, when we come together behind this topic, so many more things can happen. So much more progress is made, and then that's how I see us getting into quantum leaps, right? There's one thing to take a step, but then with the right kind of force and right kind of energy, you can make a quantum leap. You can do something that's so significant, so substantial, that it changes a whole community, changes the landscape of a whole state, eventually the whole region, and then the whole world. So, and I think we're up for the challenge. I think we got the right people at the table. Yeah.
Yes, and when we think about the brain drain that's going on in Mississippi and some of the reports that have come out recently of our young people and individuals who are college graduates, and a very high percentage that are leaving the state. So when we think about embracing all children in this state and doing everything we can for their brain development early on to create a better Mississippi is so incredibly important. And the work on pulling people together, building bridges across all areas of this state.
Right.
having that private public partnership is so incredibly important. We don't have to look any further than our sister state of Alabama, where we see the investment there of over like $110 million. And Mississippi has increased their investment over the last several years, but we're still probably about $100 million shy of what's going on next door in Alabama. But it really was the business community and the philanthropic community that came together with public sectors to create this urgency and this demand to have the best for our children starting early on. Because one of the things we haven't talked about so much here per se, but it truly is a return on investment. And when you think about this from a business perspective and from a policy perspective, most of all from the child and family's perspective, it is a huge return on investment.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You really have to help businesses see that. So that's something I've been talking to business leaders about as it relates to the topic of brain drain, is that when we get kids in a high quality program and they matriculate through all of the different stages and they graduate, we educate them. You know, kids get educated in our state. They get their college degrees in our state. You know, a firm or a company or a corporation that's primarily in North Mississippi can't just recruit in North Mississippi. They need to recruit the entire state. You need to be at every college commencement, you know, offering jobs, you know, telling them the benefit of, you know, and you have to really think all the way out of the box. You know, our traditional methods have been a good foundation. We appreciate what they've done for us, but a lot of times we have to look at the current world times and the challenges that we face and say, how do we get to the solution? I do think that we can get to the solution. I do think that we can make those adjustments and changes, and we can think innovatively around the topic of high quality programs, and then making sure that those kids actually stay in the state and the state benefits from educating them. But it will take us putting on fresh eyes, so to speak. And then, like you said, looking at sister states and seeing what they're doing. And a lot of times you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take the same measures and they will work with some basic tweaking in the area where you are. So I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see a lot of that happen. Looking across the fence, seeing what happens and saying, okay, we could do that over here, and putting it to work.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tonya, for the work that you're doing, that you're leading with ReadyNation, that you are building bridges, as we mentioned several times in this chat. So do you have any last takeaways that you'd like for our listeners to think about, or a charge that you might give to our listeners?
Yeah, I just would like for everyone to be assured, I guess, these are words of comfort, and to just be assured that there are smart, capable, experienced individuals sitting at key tables now working on these issues that are going to find a solution. And we're diligent, and we're going to keep working day and night until we see ways to really empower holistically all of Mississippi's children, because everybody matters.
Thank you. We certainly appreciated having you on today, Tonya.
Thank you.